missed one.
But he missed one, so.
Well, I thought did I count my boxes? Boxes out wrong?
Your boxes
No,
are
you're
right.
right.
You're missing
There's
a
only
one.
one.
Let's put a 3 right here.
It's a 1.
It's a 1.
It's a 1?
It's a
Yeah,
1.
you just didn't read the last one.
Okay.
Oh, okay. That's not my fault.
All right. Now, if I were to do something like this on a quiz or an exam, I would draw a line. You got 20 items here. I would say, well, I would draw kind of a big line right there, and I'd say, give me the first 15. All right? And the reason I do that will become clear in a minute. All right? So, 7, miss. 0, miss. 1, miss. 2. All right, let's talk about LRU to start with. I think that is what he does right there. All right, LRU, least recently used. So that's right there. I'm going to replace least recently used with that one. That's a miss. I've got a 0 here. That's a hit. And I've got a 3, and I need to look back, least recently used from this point back. Looks like that might be that 1. Okay? You can follow this on the screen. I'm assuming I'll do it correctly. Again, and that's a miss. Again, I've got a 2, 0, 3 here, and that's a hit. I've now got a 4, so I'm going to look back. 3 was back here. 0, actually, at least last recently used was here. 2's back here, so that should be right there. Okay? That's all I'm doing. I'm just looking in this, I'm looking back. The system, the operating system can do this because looking back, the operating system can do it. It can simply, if it's got X frames, it can just even add a bit or 2 to just say when it was last used. Because out of X, I mean, you know, when you talk about frames, say 2 KB frames or 4 KB frames, there's still a whole bunch of that in, say, for example, an 8 GB memory. 8 GB memory won't be all frames, but there'll be a good chunk of it that's frames. So you still have a lot. So you would have to count, you'd have to be able to count or have enough bits to count all the way back for a particular frame. So we can go on down the list here. 2 is new here again. 4 just recently was used. 0 was used here. Looks like the 3 was used here, back by 3 there. So that's going to be a 4, 0, 2. And dang it, wouldn't it have been cool if we'd known that 3 was coming? All right? Questions on that? I'm assuming, first of all, you got it right there in the book anyway. But unless you need me to, I'm not going to continue on. All right? Let's try this again. One of these days. I actually thought earlier today when I was together some notes here and stuff, I actually think, I will put this on a spreadsheet one of these days, and then I won't have to do this erasing in the middle thing anymore. All right, so now what if you could look ahead? That was LRU. Let's look at OPT, short for optimum. All right? Again, OPT is impossible. The operating system cannot look ahead and predict what's coming next. It can take a guess or two, and sometimes they do. They'll do little stats to predict possible upcoming things, but it just can't be deadly accurate. But we still go ahead and use the OPT, so we have a standard, a reference. We can say, okay, it doesn't get better than this. How close could we get our LRU or our LFU or our MFU or whatever? How close could we make those work? So here we go again. Got a 7, miss. 0, miss. 1, miss. All right, now I've got a 2. Now, this is where I'm going to look ahead here. I see that there is a 0 coming up. I am not going to hit that guy. I've got I don't have a 1 for a long time, and I don't ever have, the 7's even farther away from that. So I think what we'll do is we'll replace that guy, all right, that's a miss. We've got a 2, 0, 1, and that's a hit, all right. 3, now I need to look at what I got here. The next 2 is here, the next 0 is here, the next 1's we're down range a ways, so I'm going to say 2, 0, 3 now, replace that 1. All right? Is everybody following me? I'm not doing it fast, but I'm not doing it slow either. Let me know if you have a question. Yes, sir? Yes, that's all I'm doing. Okay? So then I hit, and that was a miss. I got a 2, 0, 3, that's a hit. All right? I look down range because I've got a 4 here. I'm going to get a miss out of this guy. But 2 is right there, and 3 is right there, and 0, dang it, just right down the range a little ways, but 2 and 3 are there first. So I'll do a 2, 4, and 3. Okay? And that's a miss, but this is a hit. And this is a hit. And this I'm going to have to, okay, 2 and 3 are still downrange. 4 is not even on the map anymore. So I'll do a 2, 0, 3. That's a miss. Then I'll do a 2, 0, 3. That's a hit. 2, 0, 3. That's a hit. And then I've got to look downrange here. There's a 2 and a 0, and not even a 3. So I'm going to take a 2, 0, 1. That's a miss. And then I'm going to take a 2, 0, 1. That's a hit. Now, this is the reason I give you a quiz or an exam question this way. So I'm letting you look downrange, and I'm not going to make you fill that in. It's just data. It's information to make your decisions on. Okay? Questions on that? All right? I want to talk about the clock. I don't know if the book calls it this. I think the book calls it the clock. I don't know if the book calls it, but it's also called the second chance operation or page replacement strategy. But anyway, I want to talk about that. Are there any other strategies you'd like to see? They're not hard. All right, they're pretty intuitive. Least frequently used? Miss. 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 Okay, now least frequently used. They've all been used exactly one time. All right. So what you'll then generally do, you did this in your CPU scheduling. You'll fall back over to FIFO for this. So you'd fall to FIFO, and then you'd replace the 7. Okay? And that's a miss. Then you'd have the 2, 0, 1. That's a hit. And if you count right here, this has been used twice. This has been used once. This has been used once. Okay? You have to maintain this clock if you do this. You do a 2, 0, 1. Take out the least frequently used, you'd have to take out the 2 or the 1, and then if we fall to FIFO, we'd go to here. All right? And then we come up here, 2, 0, 3. All right? And we're going to come back to here. These are, again, both of them least frequently used, but this was most frequently brought in, so we probably replace that one and do that. Okay? by the way, this was a miss, wasn't it? That's a miss, that's a hit, that's a miss. This is gonna be a miss. One more thing I need to talk about this, and I don't wanna forget about it. So now, I've got this, and my least frequently used are still these guys, but if I fall down to FIFO, it's gonna be this guy. So we'll make a 2 and a 1 right there. And then dang it, there's our 3 right there, so we'll come back here and place that guy. That's a miss. Then we've got a 3, 4, and that's a hit. So at least we're hanging on to that 0. All right, now following that least frequently used. All right? Questions? And by the way, for semantics purposes here, least frequently used is the one we're going to replace. Okay? So that is our decision. But if we don't have, and this is not a great example, for least frequently used you need like 100. Then it starts working better. Yes, sir?
Would you have to keep 2 counters? 1 for how many times the data has been accessed, and 2 for how many times or how
To
long
back off to your FIFO, you have to have something like that.
Okay.
As it turns out, well, let me, before I go to that, anybody have any other examples? All right, let's talk about the clock one, where in fact we're going to keep data comparable to that. The clock one resolves the issue of having to fall back to FIFO, among other things. All right. 7 miss. Don't let me go past this one. Tell me at the end, when I stop this, tell me that I gotta show you the rate. Okay, don't let me forget that. 7 and 0 is a miss. 7, 0, 1 is a miss. All right, now what's happening now is that I get, and I tend to use asterisks. You could use a 1 or a 0 or something like that. Actually, it doesn't matter. Okay? So everybody gets a tick mark or a 1 on there when they go in. All right? So now what's going to happen, and also there's a pointer to, think about that one for a second. The pointer goes to the one we replaced. So I did a pointer here, got 7, pointer here, got 0, pointer here, got 1. All right? And what's going to happen then, if I come up to here, is my pointer is going to go up to the next available one here. All right? And then I'm going to say, okay, is this guy, does he not have a tick? In other words, does he not have a mark? Well, he does. He has a mark. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to replace him yet. I'm going to take his mark away from him. And then move the point, use my finger for a second here, pointer down to here, and he's got a mark, so he stays. This is the second chance concept. Comes down here, he's got a mark, so he stays, but then I'm going to fall back up here, and now, because I've got it's a clock. Your book does it differently. It does a different picture, but now we're back up here. Now he doesn't have safety anymore. He doesn't have a tick. So now he gets replaced. So I have a 2, a 0, and a 1. All right? Now I'm going to come up with, and that's a miss. I've got a 2, a 0, and a 1, but now I'm putting that 0 back in here. He gets his tick mark back because he got used. Yes, sir?
Does the 2 get a tick mark?
Oh, yes, sorry. Yeah. And so what will happen here, and when you look at this, I got to remember if I got to move the pointer here or not. Yes, because the 2 went in there. I point to here, I'm pointing to there, and that's where he lands. And yeah, it depends. That's academic. You can decide whether you're going to move it now or later. Now the 3 comes along, and I'm pointing here. So, and you can decide to move it up by 1. I think that's what I did before. So you've got options here. So I'll move up by 1. He does not have a tick here. So this is going to be a 2, a 0 with a tick, and now a 3, and the 2's got a tick also. And now the 3's got a tick. All right? And I'll go ahead and set this up because I'm doing it that way. All right, the 0 comes up here, so I've got a 2 with a tick, a 0 with a tick, and it doesn't matter here. We don't add another thing. This is binary, 0 or tick. So he would get a tick if he needed it. He's got it. Now we've got 3 of them again. And I'm pointed here because that was the last thing I fell after the last thing I did. All right, the 4 comes in here. I'm going to clean out all the ticks. Check it, check it, check it, come back up to here. Now he's run out of ticks here. So I get a 4, a 0, a 3, and this was a hit. This was that was a miss. No, this was a hit. That's a miss. And now that I have replaced that guy, I'll move my pointer here.
So now the 4 has a tick. Yep.
And the 4 gets a tick.
Okay, so it's
And
0. It's
I don't know, it sounds like you're figuring it out.
Pretty much.
Okay? Yes, sir.
Shouldn't the ticks have cleared from 2 and 0 when 3 was placed into it?
A little louder.
Shouldn't the ticks have cleared from 2 and 0 when 3 was placed into it? Because it'd read them and clear it, and then finally replace the one that didn't have a tick, which was 1.
The tick is only placed in there when it's used. And it can be lost. It can be lost for a long time if it doesn't have, the pointer doesn't happen to come around. Right? But the tick will it'll get replaced if something like the 0 I can put it in there. But the 0 will get his back because he came through there.
I mean, 1 clock cycle before that, you left the 2 and the 0 with a tick. Shouldn't they have removed it at that point in time?
Well, I took that out though, didn't I?
No, one before that, where the 3 first read in. Shouldn't it have cleared the 2 and the 0 before replacing the 1?
It depended on where the pointer was at that time.
The pointer was on the 1.
What's that?
The pointer was on the 1.
Pointer was on the 1 at the point we put the 3 in.
Yes.
So what he would have done, the pointer was actually he didn't have a tick. This is a problem with teaching clock is that you got to go back and remember the states. All right, which I can do, but you can see what's happening here. I have here, when I had the 2, 0, 1, I had cleaned out all the states, put a new 2 in there. I come up here, I've got a 2 with a tick, but because I put the 2 in there, the marker is right here, right? But I see what's going to happen here. So that's when I put the 2 in there, then I've got a tick there, mark there, and I've got a tick mark there, and then I've got a 1 there. Oh, but I see your question. I am not going to advance this guy because I didn't have a miss. And honestly, you could probably go either way on that. I don't know what the book does, but I don't. My strategy is only advance it when you got a miss. All right. And so I think that it might answer your question here. But then I've got my point here. Now I'll take away the tick from here, all right? And because it was there, that saved it. But when I fall down to here, he does not have a tick at this point, so I'm going to have a 2 with a tick, a 0 without one, and a 3 with a tick. All right, and I would, and again, this could happen before or after you're coming up to your next miss. It's a strategy, and exactly how you implement it is if I were to give you this strategy, I'd give you some real specifics on when it gets implemented next. So, but I just want you to see the concept here that the tick gives you a second chance, and that's the idea. You don't get blasted out like FIFO. You're going to get, and even FIFO is not a rotating cycle here, but I think something's comparable. That's about it. So anything else where if I didn't have ticks and I had a rotating cycle here, this at least keeps somebody who's had essentially more recently used. That's kind of what's coming down here, or at least recently used. And so that's all it's doing is keeping track of it. Okay? Questions on that? All of these, they're just not rocket surgery. There's nothing hard about it. Just think about what they do, and you can go in here and work through this thing. But now's the time to remind me let's say I have a, I'll make it up as I go here. An M, an H, I have an H there, I have that too. And then a miss, and a miss, and a miss. Okay? If I ask you for the hit ratio, I'm asking you for how many H's you have over the total. If I ask you for a miss ratio, again, this is not rocket surgery. And I just